Dumb,
Cool,
and weird
podcast.
All right, here we are. I'm going to try to talk as much as I can because I had surgery. But we have a guest today. We have Will.
Hi.
And we also have Nick as usual. And today we're going to talk about the recession in 2008 and how it affected us because I feel like it's very, very relevant to the way things are going right now, just in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
You know? But anyway, here we go. This is the Dumb, Cool, Weird podcast, and here we are. Here we are on another episode. I know we didn't have an episode last week because I had surgery, and I wasn't able to talk. I can still not talk very well, but I can talk enough to be able to do an episode.
We got to take the butt plug and the ball gag out of you now so that you can at least get some air.
Absolutely. And I appreciate that.
Yeah, he was on an all liquid diet.
It was today's act of kindness.
Yeah.
Yep. So, guys, back in 2008, where were you guys at when the recession hit? What were you guys doing with your lives?
Who has a calculator? Because I can't remember how old I was. I was born in 93, so I think I was like 14, 15 years old. Some age like that.
Yeah, I was 20.
I was 23. And I was working at a warehouse.
Fun.
Yeah. I had moved up from South Carolina to up here to join a band. And then the band broke up. Mm-hmm. And in 2008, I was living in Gainesville. Mm-hmm. And driving down to Swanee to work at a warehouse. And our business was very much affected by the housing crash because what we did was we were part of a company that installed like organizational stuff in people's garages.
Yeah.
Oh, fun.
So it was very much for like upper middle class drivers trying to get their property values up for resale. Which those were the people that were very much hit by the housing crisis. And it was a kind of a slow death of that company. Like I just remember having a raise freeze where no one was going to be getting any more raises.
Uh-oh.
I remember the company telling us that, you know, we were still doing fine. We were still okay. And then we went under different ownership. And then we got sold again to a Canadian company. And the CEO and another guy came down and worked in the warehouse and watched us work. And then it turns out that they were just like observing the machinery, and then they had bought the machinery and were going to ship it back up to Canada, and they were shutting us down.
Yeah, because
So you lost your job.
Yeah, so that happened in 2012 when I got laid off.
Okay.
And then I had to go on unemployment, and I was already in school and all that kind of stuff too. So yeah.
Yeah, I misspoke. I said I was 20, but I was actually 18 now that I think about it. So I was like 18, 19 years old, so I wasn't quite 20 yet. But
Well, I mean, like the 2008 housing crisis, or when the economy shit the bed in 2008, like its effects weren't just in 2008.
yeah, it
it
was like
lasted for a while.
it had a ripple effect all the way to 2012, right?
Yeah, and beyond still in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I mean, we're probably going to go into another one. There's going to be another housing crash, and then there's going to be another war. You know, it's great. You know, we already had 2 wars and 2 recessions. We might as well go for a third.
Well, I mean, like what's happening now in the housing crisis or the housing market is like a reaction to that. It's the housing market rebuilding itself, and it wasn't just the housing market that shit the bed. It was also like it took out like public employee pensions. It took out retirement accounts. It took out it like decimated municipal governments, who then had to like take on schemes like tax allocation districts and tax incremental financing in order to rebuild after everything had collapsed. And that's a lot of the reason why housing is getting as expensive as it is right now.
That makes sense.
I was watching a documentary about the 2008 crash, and it was talking about poverty in America. And it was crazy to see that back then that, you know, there were parking lots filled with people just living in their cars. Mm-hmm. And seeing a lot of people living out of motels. Not even the people who own the motels were making any money off of anything. They were just, everyone was sustaining in these small little communities, just trying to survive.
Well, I mean, in Gainesville, I was delivering pizzas between, I guess it was 2013 to about 3 years, so about till 2016.
Yeah,
And-
because I remember you delivering pizzas
Yeah.
when I was dating Willow. You delivered the pizza to my house. What year was that, like 2014,
I
2015?
don't remember.
It
It was something. I was at Domino's.
Yeah,
That's
so-
all I remember.
I remember that.
But yeah, I remember she didn't tip me.
I told her to tip you, man. I told her to tip you. That's on her.
Yeah,
Just,
no. You told me to go ahead and write in a couple bucks. So I did.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, and there's another thing that I remember. I remember seeing all of a sudden like older people working at fast food restaurants too.
Yeah.
Like just all of a sudden, just tons of old people working at like Hardee's and shit.
I remember when when I was looking for a job as a teenager, my parents were like, "Go get a job at McDonald's. Everyone gets hired there." I was like, I don't think you're like getting it. Nobody's getting a job in my age group at any fast food place.
No.
Yeah, literally 2010. Me and my girlfriend Alina, this Russian girl I was dating, we lived over in Duluth, and we ran out of money because her scholarship wasn't paying as much, and my Pell Grant like ran out. So we were trying to find work, and
Yeah,
I
like-
was
having to rely on my student loans just to fucking live.
yeah.
Like, that's another thing about like the student loan crisis right now that people don't
Yeah,
remember.
that's part of the reason why I had to use some of my student loans too.
Yeah,
'cause
we were
me-
in college when the economy shit the bed. I mean, it was like
Yeah, and I was just trying to find a job so we could pay our rent, so I didn't have to use my student loans. But I remember applying to different places, and I remember walking into a Little Caesars, which is a fucking hole in the wall, piss poor job, right?
And they always hire.
They always hire, but like literally, they're doing like a job fair or something, and it was me and these two older guys, and I remember like they hired this older guy, and I go, "Hey, why are you hiring that guy?" And they're like, "Oh, well, he needs the job more than you."
yeah.
And I looked at him, I go, "I don't give a fuck about him. Like, what about me?"
Yeah. No, I remember that because when I was fresh out of high school, I was still in South Carolina, and I was working at a garage door installation place, and the company started to have troubles, and there was only like 4 people working there, but like I was the one that got laid off because the other guys, they had homes, and like one was having a kid come in, and I was like, well, you can you don't need this job as much as they do because you're 19.
I gotta
you
pay
live at
bills
home.
too.
Yeah,
A lot of people enlisted in 2008.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, because I mean, like, what is it? Even when I was coming out, I was considering like maybe I should extend for another year or something. But at the same time, I was just so broken off. I was like, I'm just gonna get out.
Most people don't know this, but it was pretty hopeless for me and my girlfriend back in 2010. And the way that we made ends meet is we started doing sex work. Like,
Oh, really?
Yeah, she started doing camming back when camming was still relatively new, so she was making tons of money. Back then, it was very lucrative. And she started doing like dominatrix sessions with people, she ended up making like $3,000 a week or something like that.
Yeah, and what's funny now is now you got like all the Twitch streamers that are literally doing camming work.
Yep.
Like that's what it is. It's the same thing.
Yeah, and I would go
Just that maybe they're not getting naked. They're just like talking shit.
I would go over here to Blake's and I would meet up with old guys and I would make money that way. Like we literally had to do those things back in just to make enough money to survive. I mean, we were making more than enough money to survive because sex work really pays a lot of money. But it just sucks that we had to sell ourselves like that to make money.
You have to sell a little piece of yourself just to make ends meet is what's really depressing.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't like it.
Well, I mean, like that's what having a job is. You're selling your labor power to somebody else.
Yes, but the problem is I see it more like it's when you're dealing in sex work, you're really dealing in something that is
Well, it's very blatant.
potentially very dangerous.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah, because you never know.
Which is why like a lot of sex workers would prefer something like camming, where it's considerably less dangerous.
I mean, it's like strip clubs; they're filled with degenerates.
Yeah.
And if you don't have like somebody on security there, you know that these motherfuckers would do something nasty and violent.
Yeah, I don't like it, man. Like, I know plenty of girls that have worked at strip clubs just to make ends meet, and some of the stories they tell me, I'm just like, that sucks, dude. Because for them, it's just a job, you know. They're just there to make a paycheck, you know,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
everybody else.
Well, like in general, like there's this, like if you're in something other than just like something really just boring and menial, like everyone just assumes, oh, you're just having a blast, you're just having fun.
Yeah.
Not
And it's
always.
just like, no, it's still a fucking job, man. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still
Like-
a lot of work.
yeah, I might not be shoveling coal, but you know, I'm having to like put on a fake smile and like pretend to have an orgasm.
Me and Nick do this podcast for fun, but we're hoping one day it'll get to the point where maybe it starts making money, you know?
Yeah,
like,
of course.
Like, you know, ads and all
Yeah.
kinds of stuff, you know?
Yeah, of course.
I mean, it doesn't seem like we're doing very well on the YouTube, but at the same time, everything audio-wise
So
is
the
doing
audio-
First of
well.
all, you're calling it the YouTube.
The YouTube. Yeah. You know what? It's okay. I just got a little bit of brain damage. It's fine.
Honestly, we've looked into we've done some market research on how well we're doing, and it seems like the audio versions of this podcast does really well. Like we're breaking records like every week with it. It's just on YouTube. It's just not really picking up steam like it is on the other platforms.
Like
Yeah.
we just don't have, we're just not sexy enough, and we don't have enough celebrity status or celebrity guests who come on here. So we're not really going to have that appeal.
I don't know. We got Will now, so we may actually get a lot more followers now.
Well,
Because as we know, Will is like the biggest celebrity on the planet.
That's true.
yeah, that's true. Next to all the porn stars we're trying to book.
Yeah,
Do you remember when Kale was trying to do a podcast?
he's still doing it.
Is it good?
No, I haven't listened.
Dude, me and him were on a podcast many years ago, back when we were still in college, and we were literally sitting there doing the podcast, and basically it was they would talk about movies, right? And me and Will are just sitting there being funny and just cracking jokes. And sorry, my girlfriend's calling me. Let me mute her real quick. Yeah, so we it was really funny. Like he was like. He was just he was just reviewing these different movies, and me and Will would kind of talk about them, but we would kind of shoot the shit, and we were trying to make it fun. But then he would come in and be like, "That is very interesting," and Will would just be looking at him like this, and then he would say, and then we'd start talking about the movie. Will would give like a really in-depth like thought on the movie. I would tell like how I thought about the movie, and then here comes Kale, and Kale's like, "It is a good film."
Well, you know, he's autistic, so we gotta give him, you know, a little bit.
Give him a little bit of a break.
Little bit of a break, you know. But yeah, he's doing what he does, and he's having fun doing it. So you know, I'm not gonna knock him for it.
You have to enjoy doing something.
Yeah, exactly. And he likes talking about movies the way he talks about movies, so it's fine. You know,
I didn't know he was still doing it. Does he do it at home?
I have no idea. I haven't talked to him in a while.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. We all kind of fall out with everybody. I mean, we only really reconnected like a little while after I got out of the military.
Yeah, so Nick went to UNG as well.
Oh, really?
Yep, he was there when me and you were there. Me and him were not close friends, but we were friends. We were friends with each other. We would sit with each other at lunch and chat.
Shoot the shit quite a bit.
Yeah, shoot the shit quite a bit. It was pretty fun.
Yeah, you and I didn't really become like actually kind of like closer friends until after college. Like
Yeah.
in college, like we were buddies, all that kind of shit, but we didn't really hang out that much.
Yeah, we were in a lot of the same classes, and I don't know. I like some of the ideas you had. It would always make me laugh. And
But you were doing your own thing. You had your own ideas.
Yeah, and I would throw my ideas out there, and Will and Brian would always laugh at them because they were so fucking.
we admired each other from afar. We'll say that. But
Yeah.
we were. I mean, like we were friends, but you know, it was just like we just didn't like hang out. I didn't hang out with Wes as much as I hung out with, you know, like say like Kev or something like that. You know, a couple of people.
Yeah, it was like class was always fun, but it was never. We didn't really 100% hang out like outside of class.
Yeah.
You know, it was just I don't know. It was just all kind of doing our own things. You know, I kind of hung out with this guy named Corey a lot.
Yeah.
So me and him lived together.
Yeah.
So it was fun though. He wrote a story about a fry monster coming out of the fryer. It was pretty
Yeah,
fun.
I wrote
That
a
is
treatment
pretty
for
good.
it. It was
Yeah.
it was just an idea.
You know, I wrote a science fiction story about a guy that gets turned into a fucking monster, and he doesn't realize he's a monster till the very end of it. Yeah, it was pretty fun.
I think that's an episode of Stand Against Evil.
Yeah, probably is.
That does sound like a stand against evil thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was those classes.
good show.
Those classes were
Yeah.
interesting. So back then, the program was really small. There was only like a handful. It's like
Yeah, we were kind of the guinea pigs.
yeah. There was like 6, maybe 7 or 8 of us at the most.
I mean, that's mainly why I stayed so long, is because I was like, I might as well stick around and wait until there's like a bachelor's, and then I can go ahead and get that.
Yep.
But like I was originally like poli-sci when I got into college, but then I changed over to film.
Yeah.
Poli-sci is a very interesting thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've got that as my minor right now.
Oh yeah.
And I will say, it's like a lot of that reading's dry, but it's so information.
Like what you're reading.
No, I'm just saying, like we're reading comparative security stuff. I'm reading stuff about how the presidency works. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like reading about how Congress works. You're just kind of sitting there bored, like, oh my god.
Yeah, that sounds very dry.
Yeah. See, at least with comparative securities, you're just like, okay, this makes sense. Like, this is how things work. Mm-hmm. This is how countries stay safe and, make sure they don't shit the bed.
Yeah. Taking off my shoes. It's probably going to smell. I'm sorry.
It's fine. I got my shoes off too. So
Yeah. Oh, dogs needed to breathe.
Whew. Yeah, that yeah, back then that was fun because that was actually when we first started. That was like around the time the recession was still like in effect. So
Yeah, I started going back to school in 2009.
So that I think around that time it was kind of like a safety net for us.
Yeah,
in some ways.
Yeah, that it was, because like not only it's it's kind of like with life, it's like nepotism or college.
Yeah.
Or the military, and even then after the military, it's nepotism or college.
Yeah. unless you stay in, and you're just
Unless you stay in,
and you're just like eventually the economy is gonna go good, and then I can get out.
Yeah, and
you reached past your 8-year mark, and you're like, kind of there. Maybe
get a job with a coffee company that only hires vets, like something like that, and then they act like it's charity, that kind of shit.
I love Black Rifle Coffee Company, but
I don't really know enough about them. I don't care enough
They're
about
fun.
coffee. But
it's good. It's good coffee. It's just like, I just think it's cool because it's an interesting idea to me. I like I like their podcast, but it's like
I just get bored with all the culture war bullshit.
Yeah, that's
and they do tend to lean on that a good bit as part of their like marketing strategy.
You know who did it best though? Alex Jones. The man knew how to tell us about the gay frogs and the lizard people.
God, that dude is fucking hilarious.
And the pizza dude.
He's completely unhinged, but he's hilarious. It's like really great performance art.
I don't watch Alex Jones because I truly believe everything Alex Jones says. I watch Alex Jones because every now and again he comes out with like, this is real, but it's not going to sound real for like a while because I sound insane.
Yeah.
And then later on you're like, okay, maybe the frogs are turning a little gay. And you're like, oh, maybe they were.
But
murdering.
even if they are turning gay, so
no, it's actually they're not even turning gay. Like that's Alex Jones telling you that the frogs are actually being genetically modified by the water.
Okay.
Because, I mean, when you're that angry, and that hopped up on whatever you're hopped up on, you can only really come up with a few sentences.
He's got to keep people engaged so he can sell them, products.
Alpha Brain.
Yeah. So
No, wait, that's Joe Rogan's.
Yeah, so he can do that. I mean, that's all he can do right now because he doesn't have any sponsors anymore.
I still believe in him, because he's kind of like the underdog story that we're just like, he'll keep coming back. There's no killing him. He keeps getting money from somewhere.
Yeah, makes you wonder. Makes you wonder who's really the conspirator with the dark money.
Damn it, George Soros.
Yeah, but it's pretty funny, Alex fucking Jones. But yeah, getting back to the recession, I honestly, it was definitely a safety net for me being at that college around the time me and you were going to school there, because not only was I getting decent financial aid at that point from them, and I was right off campus, so I had access to stuff. I had access to a gym for free. I had access to food.
Yeah, exactly. Same.
I had access to everything. And I also had a part-time job because of the school. I worked in the studio. Smith let me run the studio
I worked at the school too for a little bit.
a couple times a week, so it paid my bills and wasn't too
School
bad.
is not a good job anymore, considering how much you get paid versus where you could get paid everywhere else, though.
I think I only liked working at the school because at least I got to stay there.
Yeah. I mean, like, no, the school job, like, I can understand the school job and, like, that, in that time period was good, but it's like, when you're talking about, like, now, the wages, like,
The wages were shit then too.
Oh, they are? They were then, too?
They were terrible.
What were you guys getting paid then? Like,
$10 an hour?
Yeah.
$10 an hour. That's still better than what they're getting paid now.
What do you mean? Should
I
still
heard
be like,
somebody say they were making, like, $7.50.
Yeah, I mean, I think I made minimum wage at some point too, but like I was,
Yeah,
not much.
I was gonna say a lot of
But
places
it was
are
like
hiring
it was only
for.
part time too, so it was only like
Yeah.
like 15 hours a week or 20 hours a week, something like that.
yeah,
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, the program was interesting. We, like the thing is like we wanted to use the gear a lot because it was there for us, but they were
Yeah.
so weird about letting us use the gear. Like we had to like write like essays of shit like about what we needed it for. But the thing is like we really just wanted to rent it to experiment with it, and they made a big deal about it back then. Of course, I don't know how it is now. I'm sure their program's a lot bigger now than it was when we went to school there.
Yeah, well, they moved
It
into
is.
the old tech.
Linear
school.
Tech is now like
Yeah.
it houses a lot of it along with the nursing program.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the nursing program is really nice over there.
Yeah, and nursing jobs don't pay that great.
They don't. My wife was going to school to be a nurse, and now she doesn't want to be a nurse, and because while she's working at Amazon, she's getting all sorts of people who are registered nurses like quitting their jobs just to work at Amazon because they get paid more. And then the respect level.
And like it's also and like with Amazon too, like it's a monopoly play. Like that's all it is, and they're paying more to suck resources out of other places to kind of knock them out, and it's like as soon as they're able to, as soon as it's no longer competitive for workers, like they're gonna drop the wages again. They're gonna freeze,
Amazon groceries.
Yeah.
Buy now.
Well, I mean, they bought Whole Foods.
That is true.
That's right. Yeah, because every time I go to Whole Foods, they're like, "Do you have an Amazon account?"
Yeah.
Can't shop here unless you do.
Something like that.
No, you can. It's just they give you like discounts or something like that if you have an Amazon account.
They give you an Amazon security guard comes to tases you and escorts you out.
What's the beer of the day?
Oh, the beer of the day is the wonderful and eccentric Miller Lite.
Yep.
A fine Pilsner beer. It tastes exactly like college piss used to.
Absolutely.
Well,
And what's the Scotch of the day?
Ardbeg Karavrekian. Corey Vrecken.
Is it
Corey
smooth?
Feldman.
It's very peaty. Let's see. Yeah, very peaty. That's why you get Ardbeg is for the peatiness. And the sweet note is it's a little bit citrusy. It's very nice.
It's very, very nice.
Little bit of chocolate on the back end there. Ooh. It's very nice.
I do like chocolate being jammed in the back of my throat.
That is just a dick joke immediately.
I mean, why does it always have to be dicks with you?
Well, when you say stuff like that, it's got to be a dick joke. I'm sorry.
Always, every time.
Yeah, always.
Yeah, me and Will actually used to go to Film Bar. That thing I took you to that one time.
That was fun.
Yeah, that got old pretty quick.
I mean, it got weird for my first time.
Well, too many like non-industry people found out about it, and then they started showing up to like try to network and try to get jobs. You motherfucker, are you one of them?
No, because
Okay, cool.
Because when he brought me, I was like, it kind of makes sense because there were a few of those over there.
Yeah, it's just like it would just just be like trying to have a drink with your friends, and you'd have people come up and just be like, "So what do you do?" "Oh, I'm trying to get into that myself. Do you know anybody that can like?"
The greatest thing, though, had to be the person you were talking to who wrote out the whole plot of The Walking Dead.
I told you about that, right? I told you that, didn't I, Will?
Yeah.
Yeah, I told him that story.
The Walking Dead. But everybody becomes zombies after they die. You mean like The Walking Dead? No, I don't know what that is. That's The Walking Dead. You just described The Walking Dead.
Yep. And then she was really rude to me, and me and him were just like, we're gone. We're out of here. We're gonna be gone now.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that story.
That was really odd. Everything else was going nicely until that person.
Well, the thing is like when me and Will would go there, it wouldn't necessarily be like that, but it would be kind of weird sometimes.
Yeah.
Like we had a couple regulars that would come in, and they were very confrontational. We had this one girl named Lovely Ann, and she was very confrontational with people.
Is that the one I think I know you're talking about?
No, I don't think so.
Yes.
No, this lady would get very confrontational. Like you would try to talk to her about something, and then she would act like she knew more than you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was exactly the person you were telling me about, actually. Mm-hmm. You just never used a name.
Oh. Yeah, and then there's another girl named Melissa Simpson, not the younger one, but the older one. She was kind of she was kind of confrontational too.
Yeah, I don't remember.
But then you'd have people who are regular people who are just on set that would come and just chill.
Yeah, and then like I stopped going just because I was working.
Yep, and I stopped going because I was working.
Like, you know.
Me and him would go.
And then it just became more and more of that, where it's just like the people that were going were generally people who weren't working.
Yeah, because when we first started going, people who were there were people who were working.
Okay, so then it became a whole scene.
So what would happen is
jobs.
People would show up that have never worked in the film industry, and they would basically scare off the people that were working.
Throw off the vibes.
So was that, and that was around the same time with the the economic crisis and everything too. Do you think that may have also brought a lot of those people there?
I would say that was like towards the end of the economic crisis.
Well, I mean, like, when was the last time? Last time I think I went there was like in 2017.
Yeah.
Honestly, and I still see some people from Film Bar that like that I remember and that remember me and all that kind of shit. But it's it's like,
man, has it really been almost 5 years now?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
I mean, I haven't been in a very long time. But it was just, like if I went there now, like I don't think I would know anybody. And then, there's like the whole thing with like the usual drama where like so-and-so friends would like be dating and then they'd break up and then it'd be weird and then
and it all shows up at the bar.
Yeah, and it's just
yeah, and then
there was a little bit of that, and then also it was mostly just like the people that would show up like trying to figure out how to just trying to ask you for jobs when it's just like, I'm trying to get away from work right now.
Yeah.
I just want to hang out with my friends.
Oh, and that's why I asked. Is like it sounds like a lot of people were also there to try and get jobs because they were suffering or they were just insufferable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had this one guy. His name was Jason. He would just show up. He would come like all the time, and he would just walk up to us and be like, "Hello, my name is Jason, and I'd like to work on set."
What's that accent? He's Russian now.
Was he Eastern European?
He sounded
of
something
sorts?
like that.
No, he's just just a dude.
It's what he sounded like to me when I heard him talk. Hello, my name is Jason.
Hello, my name is Jason.
My wife.
Yeah.
I am from Soviet Union, now known as not Soviet Union.
Now definitely not Soviet Union.
Yeah, he was
different country altogether.
He was
completely different.
The reason why he rubbed people the wrong way is because every time he would come, he would ask the same questions over.
Yeah,
and over.
he had like a spiel, and he would forget who he had done his spiel with because like there was just something he has some kind of condition.
Something.
I don't know. But yeah, he would walk up to you and start talking to you and like, yeah, I remember you told me last week, but he would just keep going. He would just kind of look at you when you said that and then just keep going.
It's like he's already committed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and his little spiel was very interesting. He was all about like he'd be like, "Hey, my name is Jason. I want to work on set."
In the office.
Oh yeah.
Because he was good with computers and he likes to focus on things and have a single task to focus on.
Dude, how the fuck do you remember that? I don't remember that much.
No, I remember all that because it's like I work in the office and it is not like that.
Working in an office job is crazy because it's just random bullshit all the time.
Yeah, you have a very vague job title and mostly what your job is to answer emails. And
those emails might even be related to something that's not even directly for you to answer.
Exactly.
It's like some department
like
somewhere
you're just
else.
looped in just so you can like see the responses basically.
And then someone yells at you because you didn't
Mm-hmm.
that email, even though you have
Yeah.
no clue why,
Yeah.
what you're doing with that.
Yeah. All sorts of shit like that. And so, but yeah, like working in an office is very much like, it is not, you just get to focus on one task. It's
Oh, yeah.
not data entry in the film, especially in the film industry. Like your job description, even if you have the same job title, shifts from show to show.
Yeah.
It just depends on what your coordinator likes having different people do.
Everyone has their own thing that they like, and it fucks you up every time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I worked in the office on The Haunting of Hill House for the entire show, and I definitely worked 10 different jobs being an office PA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you move furniture, you talk to vendors sometimes. You know,
Sometimes they give you a task that's impossible, and you somehow have to make it happen.
Yeah.
It's weird because, like, that was the job I had for the last year while I was in the military.
The only thing I hated about that job more than anything is when we'd have catering at the office.
Ooh.
And I was responsible for getting a head count, and I would overestimate by like 100 people, just in case.
100 people?
Yeah.
How big was this office?
Pretty big, I'm guessing.
Well, we would have to cater the whole crew and the office.
That's insane. That's not how that normally works.
I know.
Like normally it's like you have a set caterer, and
Trust me, I know.
if they're shooting on site, like you have the set caterer and you eat in the office.
Yeah, when we would
eats
have
with the set caterer. Like
when we have stage.
no, that's what?
yeah,
Someone did something
They made us
dumb.
they made us do that sometimes, and it was
Like they didn't have like Tony's or Mario's or Robert's or anything like that. Like none of the usual vendors that serve.
they would, but then there'd be some days where there'd be some times where we had to do that. Like we would have to cater the entire crew, like when they were working on stage. And
That makes no fucking sense.
trust me, I know.
Were they just, was it like a cost cutting thing? Even though that doesn't make any sense either, because it's cheaper to do like a caterer.
I don't know, man.
Somebody
Messed up somewhere with the math.
All I know is when I would get a proper head count and I would tell the catering would come and they would have just enough food for everybody, and the crew would eat too much.
Yeah.
Especially the grip and electrics. They're fucking
course.
fat pigs.
And construction there.
Yeah.
Well, they're big boys. They got a lot.
They need their
They're
calories
transferred
from
too.
outside.
What would happen is I would order just enough most of the time for people. People would come through the line and get like 5 helpings. Some of these other departments, and the AD department would come in there and there would not be anything left, and they would get fucking pissed, and they would yell at my coordinator, and then the coordinator would yell at me and be like, "Why didn't you do this right?" And I'm like, "Dude,
Sorry, they're fat.
I did everything right." And so from there on out, I started over ordering. I would order I would do like.
Well, it's either that or you're monitoring the lunch line and just being like, okay, you already got some.
And I can't. And if I do that,
You can't do that.
Yeah.
That's
Then you're just
that's
an
a
asshole.
bureaucratic headache.
Yep. So what I would do
I've had to
is
do that before.
so what I would do is I'd have a head count and then I would add 100 to that head count.
Yeah.
That's what I would do every time.
My mind is still blown that like set catering was the office's job. Like that makes no sense.
If you don't believe me,
It makes sense. It makes sense for me just because of having
Well,
to do dumb shit. Like,
I'm sure you believe me. But if you really want to know more about it, you can talk to Aaron Shore. He'll tell you all about that. And he thought
sure.
he thought it was ridiculous too.
Yeah, because that is not normal.
Yep.
it's one of those not my jobs.
Yeah, I mean that's insane. It doesn't seem right at all. And I mean, like I don't know, like you do office catering. That's normal, especially when lunch on set is going to be at a weird time or if they're off site. But yeah, like the office doing that doesn't make any sense.
Most of the time, my job is
Even just logistically, like that doesn't make any sense.
Most of the time, I was in charge of lunch though. Most of the time for the office.
Dude, when I moved up from PA, like I was so happy to not have to fucking deal with lunch anymore.
Yeah, lunch sucks.
Lunch sucks.
You go to pick up the food for like 10, 12 people in the office.
Yeah.
You think you have everything right. You get back, you're missing like a side, and you're like, "Fuck."
And it's just like it's one of those things where you can't literally open the thing and dig around in it and make sure that there's no onions or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
Like like you can't do that. But yeah, it's you just have to like try to find good restaurants that like treat you right, and you like build those relationships and all that.
That was a
kind
good
of shit.
set though, because the director on that set is the guy that talked me into not working on set anymore and getting a corporate job like he had, and that's how he became a filmmaker.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because to become a director, the best thing you can do is not work on set. The best thing you can do is have a normal have a normal job, like a corporate job,
Yeah.
still working in film or something. But then you have a lot more extra time to work on your projects.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
With this whole podcast and our other endeavors is because, I mean, we still got to pay the bills until this starts paying off.
Absolutely. And that's the problem with like working like hours that Will works. It's hard for somebody, if somebody has something they want to do, you can't really do those things.
Yeah. Yeah, you have you don't have much time for a life outside of work, which is like why I'm taking this month off. Like I'm just like, you know, it's been a wild couple years. I just need a break.
Yeah, he's got a movie that I helped him work on many years ago, and it's
Nice.
still hasn't been.
Still in post-production hell.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and has a lot of potential to be a good movie. It's a period piece, so
Okay.
Yeah, and it was kind of an experiment. I wrote it in period dialect and all that kind of stuff.
I think my only thing, Will, is I wish we would have shot your movie on a different camera.
Yeah, but that's what we had.
I know.
You know, and we can at least make it work, I guess.
Yeah.
You know,
Something will work.
I mean, like you know, if you like ever finish doing color correction and color grading and all that kind of stuff, maybe you wouldn't be happy with it, but you know, like maybe the rest of us would be fine with it.
Well, it's like I said, my friend can take a look at it.
Yeah, like untrained eyes would probably like boost the confidence a little bit.
Yeah, because the biggest, besides the camera that we shot on, the only other gripe I really have is the fact that we shot one scene at the beginning of the day in the morning, and the other part of the scene like in the late.
That's just because we just ran out of time.
Yeah.
Well, the only thing, like I said, I think
And we only had one camera. Like if we had a 2 camera setup, like that would have flown by.
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the time we didn't really have like, you know what? I should have brought my Blackmagic cinema camera. We should have just shot on that too. That would have been like a good camera, B camera. We could have matched the footage.
Could it have matched with the red?
Yeah, because I could have shot mine in a flat film profile, and a colorist could have matched the clips. You know, but hindsight's 20/20.
Yeah,
You know?
this was 6 years ago.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
But in general, how's everyone like doing now coming out of all of that?
What, the recession?
Yeah, like I mean, even though we're kind of still crept into one, it's like,
I mean,
like, would you say that
with the kind of money I make right now,
yeah,
if I was making this kind of money back in 2010, I would probably be pretty comfortable right now. But with the way inflation is and the housing is and everything,
Yeah, I mean, like, dude, you make like what should be a perfectly fine amount of money. I mean, you make good money.
yeah, I think 50 grand a year is
Yeah,
decent money. It should
is
be.
good. It should like any normal person should be able to live off of that. But it's still like you're still gonna have to like figure out how to cut costs and like fucking move to some place that you can afford. I mean,
Absolutely.
and
I mean, like same thing with like I compared to other people, like I make decent money.
Yeah.
But it's still just like it comes at a cost because the film industry asks a whole lot of people, and then it's still like when I was having to like I like my girlfriend and I would just pay an HOA right
Yeah.
now, so we're lucky in that way. But like when I was having to pay rent on my last apartment, like
Yeah.
it fucking murdered me.
See, I think it's crazy going from $800 rent a month when I was living in North Carolina, and I understand that it's because of the military and that being near a military base, they control so much of that too, like the area is rent controlled to a certain degree. And I mean, if you're paying way too much money, it's like you're just living somewhere where you probably shouldn't because you're killing each paycheck.
Yeah.
You don't make a lot
No.
per paycheck, but at the end of the day, you make a decent enough salary to where you're surviving and you're not going broke.
Yeah.
If you go broke, that's your own fault for going broke.
Yeah, but you know, it's
But you're also you're surviving.
yeah, like in a vacuum, like all three of us since 2008, we're in pretty good shape. But we don't live in a vacuum. We live in a world governed by a series of human social relations and institutions and systems that have their own contradictions that lead to all sorts of issues for us. And so, yeah, it just, like, I'm better off and then not better off at the same time. Like, I still feel like the struggling college kid in a lot of ways.
I definitely have to say I'm better off. I missed my pay when I was in the military. I won't lie. Those paychecks were nice compared to just making what I'm making now. It's like it covers the rent,
Yeah.
but I don't have anything I can put away to save.
Yeah,
And
I haven't really been able to put away to save.
Like I was a little while ago, but that's the thing. If you're not doing a certain number of hours of school, you're not getting the housing allowance that could also help you along with like your disability. And I mean, the housing allowance goes a long way. Even if you're not making the full rate, it works. But the problem is like I found this out. If you're only taking 6 hours instead of 12 hours, you're not making shit. You're not. They don't give you anything. They're gonna pay for your courses, but they're not gonna give you anything else.
Yeah.
So it kind of screws with you just a little bit because you're still worried while you're going to school. Like, okay, how am I going to budget out this month? How am I going to budget out this month? It's just this constant thing now where this semester is rough because I don't have that sort of security as I did for the last few that I've been doing.
Yeah.
And at times it gets overwhelming. And so I completely understand like when people do complain about the rent being too high, like just everyday problems, you kind of forget about, I would say, while you're in the military. Because there's just a lot more structure and safety nets.
Yeah. Which we don't have in the rest of society.
Yeah. And even then, I mean, it's like what is it? I remember the thing that always pissed me off is when people say, it was like, well, I don't make money like you. It's like, I don't make a lot of money. It's like, I just make enough. I just have to be smart with my money.
Right.
And that's what people don't understand. It's like, it's a guaranteed job for the next 4 to 5 years.
What was your job?
It was in the Marine Corps, military police.
Wow.
So never did any policing. But yeah.
So did you go to Paris Island?
Yep.
That's where I grew up.
It's terrible.
I grew up in Beaufort. Yeah, it's
That's awful.
yeah.
That place is terrible.
I didn't grow up on Paris Island, but
no. I'm saying it's just that whole area is just
yeah,
like run by those people.
yeah. It's my parents still live there, and it's very. I just remember it being very touristy, and I just remember. I remember there being a lot more kids when I was younger.
Yeah.
And now it's not so much like a place for families anymore. It's a place for retirees and for yuppies.
Yeah.
And for like hipsters that want to start a coffee bar or whatever.
That was Wilmington in North Carolina.
Yeah, they're the same thing.
Oh yeah, no, I was just saying it's like Wilmington was like that exact same way, and I was like,
Yeah,
like,
but
oh,
like
yeah.
I just remember like getting to where I was going to graduate high school, and I think I can count on one hand the amount of friends that I have that still live there.
Yeah.
And even fewer the ones that I still talk to, just because it's just like. There wasn't a whole lot of. It was either you were like a doctor or a lawyer.
Yeah.
For like rich retired people, or you were like a waiter.
Yeah, military
there was
towns
not
are like
a whole lot in between.
People forget that the military towns are like really poor.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't necessarily blame the military.
Oh no, I'm
presence
not
for
saying
that because, but like, yeah, it does kind of like boost the like
local economy.
No, because the Marines weren't really let off the base that much because
because
it was a training base.
It's a training depot,
and we also had the Marine Corps Air Station there. So with that, people were able to like come off the base a bit more. But like,
I mean, it's just every area that you're looking at in terms of like when it comes to military bases, all those areas are low cost because I mean they look for more. They look to spend the cheapest amount of money on where they're going to put their installations.
Well, I mean, yeah, of course, but that's true with everything. That's true with like the film industry. That's why we have like a giant movie studio like in Fayetteville.
Yeah,
where you can still buy a house for like a fucking 4-bedroom house for like $300,000 or whatever, and actually have some land.
But you're also like in that area, and you're like, yeah,
and
it's
you're
not
just
worth
out
it.
in the middle of nowhere. Yeah,
it's like this is not worth it.
Yeah, I mean, like one of my close friends like lives in Fayetteville with his wife and kid, and like they like it, but they're just kind of isolated. Like, you know,
It feels like there's sort of like a misery in isolation, though.
very much.
Because I was thinking at one point,
Like they have a nice house and they're glad that they were able to afford
Yeah.
it, but I'm sure that they wish that they were like closer to like friends in the city and shit.
See, that's what I was always thinking. I was like, okay, maybe I want to move to Montana. Then I started thinking about it. I'm like,
No,
I don't
fuck
want to
that.
move out in the buttfuck of Montana.
No. Like the last job I had, there was a bunch of people that were from Montana, and like, you know, like one of them like moved back out to Montana, and it was like, I can't do Atlanta, I can't do the city, but it's just like,
I guess if you're used to it, it's one thing.
Yeah,
But I think it's
yeah.
like if you're used to socializing and you move out there, you're just
And
kind
I'm
of
like,
like,
I'm a pretty social person.
Yeah.
You know, I found that out about myself in the pandemic.
I was like, I hate the city, but I don't hate it enough to think like, you know what, living out in the woods is like that deep into the woods and that isolated is going to be that much better because eventually you're just going to want to have some social interaction.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, I like the city. I like being close to the city.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because if something's coming to Atlanta, I can go because it's like, it's close.
Yeah.
You know, because like when I was in Gainesville, it was like, oh shit, I'm gonna have to like drive like an hour down there and fucking,
Yeah.
you know, and then like, you know, like, but now I can just like take an Uber and it's like 15 minutes and I can drink all I want and then, you know, take an Uber back home, you know, and it's fine.
Well,
Yeah,
that was the nice thing about living in North Carolina. If you had new guys who dropped in, you can be like, hey, you're gonna drive us so we can watch the fight night at the bar.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry though, we're not gonna treat you like shit. We're gonna pay for your stuff
Right.
for the rest of the night. You're our designated driver.
Yeah. See, like I hated the social life like around like Swanee and stuff like that, where it was like, oh yeah, you want to like go have fun and go to an event, go to like this fucking like country bar where like some shitty cover band's gonna be playing and like you're just gonna be.
I love
You
the
know.
heavy metal cover bands.
Oh yeah, those are
just-
hilarious, but
it's
it's just
just
like, I that's just not really what I think of when I think of having fun.
No.
You know.
No, I totally get it.
Well, downtown Gainesville's gotten a lot better.
It has. I
Oh
will
yeah.
say.
I haven't been in a while. I haven't been.
They're
since,
getting their own gamer bar, kind of like the Joystick.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and they
There's
also
kind of a lot going on over there.
yeah,
Listen,
downtown drafts, and they're also building a bunch of stuff over there. It's like a cool little downtown.
Yeah,
chill area.
they did some TIF funds. I'm not kidding. They did like tax
probably
allocation
why
districts and
a
stuff.
lot of things are going up in my area.
Yes, that's why. And that's why that the apartment complex on Atlanta Street, as you're driving in, like that's why that was decimated and replaced by luxury condos.
Yeah, that's probably.
And they all the people that lived in that public housing complex, they got some housing vouchers, but most of them couldn't afford with the housing vouchers to live anywhere, so a lot of
Yeah.
them just moved back in with their parents, and
Damn.
you know, and they had to keep like for a little while they had to keep some of them at like a rent control levels so that it was affordable, but then
Yeah.
like after the original tenants moved, they were able to go back up to market values.
It's crazy how the plan is just to constantly push, like cycle through people in these
Yes.
units. It was like, you're gonna still make your money. Try to work with people, not against them.
Yeah, but then they wouldn't make as much money.
Exactly. I mean, they have a bottom line. At
Like
the end of the day.
that's just how it is. That's
Yeah.
life under capitalism. That's just how it works.
Well-
Everyone's got to make money. It's fucking capitalism.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's like, that's why I'm like nodding. I'm like, yeah, that is how it works. You have to find a way to make your money.
Yeah, exactly.
2-minute warning.
2-minute warning. Okay. Then the economy fucking sucks. Capitalism fucking sucks. Let's all get together and overthrow the dictatorship of the bourgeoisie.
Ah, yes, that guy. He's that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I told you that.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
but he's fun, so it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, he's the thing I like about Will is he may be a self-proclaimed communist or whatever, but
I'm a communist. I'm
yeah.
not a Marxist.
Yeah, see, but like at least he's smart and knows what he's talking about. I meet a lot of people that say the same shit as him. But
They just say
Anyone
whatever.
can say that shit, but it's like, and that's what it's like. Like if you were to ask me, like, what is Marxism in America, and I'd just be like, there is no Marxism in America. Like there just isn't.
I think it's just pretty much for that region at this point.
What are you talking about?
No, I'm saying I think it only truly existed in that region of the world.
It's still around, but like what Marxism is as a tendency is as a political project, is to take liberatory movements and to figure out ways to put them together so that they can build into a mass politics to actually exert real political power by real people over the alienated institutions that govern us, like capital and the state. And that is just not happening in America, at least, or at least in the imperial core of capitalism. But like there, and like as far as like in the rest of the world, like the sort of Marxist movements have been isolated to the rim or to the Revolutionary International.
Would you say that most people who claim to be Marxists are, really the kinds of people who would be able to enforce real, like, totalitarian regimes with the things that they do, versus what Marxism would actually do? I don't know how to, I don't know how to say it. It's like you know how like there's all these self-proclaimed Marxists, right? Mm-hmm. But their version of destroying everything still enforces the power of someone who's screwing them over. They kind of create their own police state. Okay. Through their acts of violence, versus what you're kind of saying.
Well, okay. So that is going to open up a whole different subject about how the Soviet Union and things like that were constructed, or how worker states operate.
It was violent.
Of course it was violent. So it's fucking American society. But it's just kind of like, that's just kind of how
it works.
Yeah, but that's a whole other subject that would need hours and hours of its own podcast.
All right, let's get on those hours.
Well, we can do it. We can do a podcast episode talking about like communism, capitalism, and stuff like, and socialism too, if you want.
Yeah, we can do that.
I mean, I'm cool with that.
That works for me.
Well, I mean, like I do want to say, like when people ask me what's the difference between a communist and a socialist, I say it's like asking the difference between a pit bull and a dog.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Yeah, I mean, communists are socialists. It's just we have a particular understanding of socialism. And
so I've met like self-proclaimed anarchists. What do you think of those people?
Those are weird too.
Okay, the difference between Marxists and anarchists, there are several, and not going back to like the rivalry between like Marx and Bakunin or anything like that. It's nothing like that. But the main difference, when you talk to anarchists, what they're interested in abolishing in modern society is unjustified hierarchies. Like, that's their focus. That's what they think. Like, once it's abolished, we can actually bring about socialism. Socialism meaning, like, society rules itself and governs itself. Like, real, actual self-government.
So I always think it's very interesting that there's ANCAPs, because it just doesn't make sense.
ANCAPs, I'm kind of softening my position on them, because like when you talk to a lot of libertarians, well, before I get into that, okay. So the difference between anarchists and Marxists here. What anarchists are focused on is abolishing these unjustified hierarchies, what they call it.
Yeah.
But Marxists are less interested in that. We are more interested in the material social relations between people. Okay. And so what we want to abolish is exploitation, where people use people as resources to enrich themselves at the loss of the other person, basically.
Okay.
So when you think of like the relationship that you have with your landlord, where your landlord makes money because you work and you pay them because they own the edifice in which you live, they exploit you in this way. And exploit meaning use you as a resource for their own wealth. And like, of course, capitalism is built on these kinds of social relations.
I don't even think we really have capitalism anymore as much as we have corporatism now. And
this was the next thing that I was going to get to.
Yeah.
Okay. Because corporatism, we use that term these days to mean corporate capitalism, but that's what Marxists are referring to, and classic anarchists are referring to when they talk about capitalism. So corporatism, in the classic definition of it and classic understanding of it, is where you have a socially organized economy, but it's still a class society, but it's based on traditional patriarchal social relations, right? So it's like an artisanal economy instead of like a corporate economy, or like with large firms and industrial firms. And so it's like, you have like apprentices where the master will have like patriarchal duties over them and paternalistic duties towards them. And then the apprentice has responsibilities and duties towards the master and all that kind of stuff. And so when I talk to a lot of libertarians and so-called ANCAPs, like when they describe capitalism, they're actually describing corporatism.
Well, yeah, I mean,
where it's like informal economies based on like hierarchical social relations. But then when they talk about corporatism, they're talking about capitalism, which is the capitalist mode of production. Well, first of all, as a scaled social thing, capitalism just means the capitalists are in charge of how we produce, what we produce, and when we produce it, and our political system. But the capitalist mode of production, as described by Marx, it's a system based on the wage relationship where lots of people contribute to the production of articles. And then this socialized mode of production where nobody can really claim absolute ownership of this in the Lockean sense, where it's like, if I made this chair from start to finish, I could say I owned this and that could sell it, and that would make sense. But if I just turn a screw and then the next person also turns a screw, who can like rightfully say that they own it and that they produced it?
yeah.
Well, according to property law, the guy who owns the company and has somebody put a stamp on there, he's the one that owns it, and he gets to appropriate it and then sell it and make the money. And so that is capitalism. That is the capitalist mode of production, socialized labor with private appropriation. And so that's what Marxists are describing as capitalism, not win the free market or when somebody sells something.
I mean, eventually the free market becomes corporate.
Yes, because competition does lead to
As you
monopoly
grow.
capital, and then monopoly capital leads to finance capital, and finance capital leads to capitalism, imperialism.
Yeah, I was just gonna say
Lenin went
simply-
over all of this.
I was gonna say simply just when you grow though, you're gonna become a corporation. You're not gonna stay a mom and pop business forever.
Yeah.
I mean, Walmart's a good example of that. Sam Walton
Yeah.
was a small time like guy who.
But the conditions under monopoly capital is when it overpowers competition.
Yeah, Walmart definitely overpowered
Yeah.
Kmart.
Exactly, and not just Kmart. It blew out mom and. I mean, like
a lot of
Walmart
local
did
areas
what,
I
what
just
Amazon
forgot.
is doing now. Like Walmart would
Yeah.
show up someplace and they would pay higher than everybody else and take all the workers because they could make more money.
Amazon
then
is
Amazon's
doing
doing that now.
an interesting company because you devalue within Amazon as a worker.
Yeah,
You're not, and there's no way you're allowed to work up in that company. You know, if you're on the line, you're not going up to anything else. You know, you might be management on the line, but you're not getting the office job. You're not going anywhere like that. You're stuck.
yeah, but it's not really that
It's not bad.
interesting of a company, is what I'm
No.
saying. Like it's just that's capitalism.
No, it's just they found a way. They found a way to work smarter.
Yeah, that's
not
just
harder.
not even really that.
Wouldn't say smart.
It's the same old capitalist mode of production. It's just we went through this period of like the New Deal where like crises in capitalism had forced capital to actually like partner with the state and develop like downward pressure on accumulation. Because, I mean, like, the New Deal dispersed funds through direct government investiture to states who then distributed money to contractors. And, you know, the federal government built an entire military-industrial complex based on contractors.
Yeah.
Which put, again, this downward pressure on capital accumulation. And then we undid the New Deal, and now we live under a neoliberal paradigm and a neoliberal kind of programmatic. And it does the same thing, but through nudging, through incentives and like little technocratic little like tweaks.
And you can pretty much control the world through neoliberalism.
Yeah, and that's what it is. It does. I mean, that is like the
it drives
predominating form.
Not to sound like Alex Jones, but it really does drive the globalism.
Well, I mean, it's globalism is.
But if all our global markets are going to connect, considering the fact that we trade around the world, so it's like you can't. That's not going to stop.
Yeah, and it does create these networks of finance capital that end up guiding policy. And
our money is someone else's money.
Exactly.
And vice versa.
And again, all we can do is hope that we overthrow the bourgeoisie and establish socialism.
I just want to be...
That's a good way to end it.
Yeah. I mean, like the last time you had me over here for an interview, I ended up in, overthrow the dictatorship of the bourgeoisie. So, might as well end with that here now.
But we all know that I have the closing statement.
Okay.
Yeah, let them know.
Stay sexy, Atlanta.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Dumb, Cool, and Weird podcast with Wes and Nick. If you want to check out more of our stuff, go to www.dumbcoolweird.com. You'll find our Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and Patreon link if you want to support us. Also, be sure to check out our merch store. And if you're interested in being on our podcast, you can find a link on our website so you can reach out to us and tell us if you want to talk to us about something that's really weird, dumb, or cool. We'd be glad to hear from you. Hope you will stay tuned for the next weird ass episodes we got. Thank you.